And so the Amplified Translation attempts to take the more subtle shades of meaning in the words and amplify those and give you the fullest scope of the meaning of the words. So here's what the Amplified says. And God is able to make all grace. And then in parentheses explaining what is meant by that word grace in this context. Every favor and earthly blessing. Well, that's pretty good. I like that. Every favor and earthly blessing come to you in abundance, so that you may always and under all circumstances and whatever the need be self-sufficient. And then in the brackets there's the amplification. What that means. Possessing enough to require no aid or support and furnished in abundance for every good work and charitable donation. Isn't that good? Now here's my question. When I read something like this, it's really, really good. This is what I always want to propose this. This is a rhetorical question, which means it's meant to just provoke your thought. What's this doing in the Bible? What is this in the Bible for? What is this information for? Well, this is in the Bible for you to read it, and then grab it, and accept it, and take hold of it. Let's put it that way. You know, I forget the last time I was talking to somebody about this. You know, I use this example sometimes about salvation, and it applies to this too. I forget where I was. I had this just recently. I had this conversation with somebody, and I tried to explain it this way. And I've used this example before. Let's just say that you were on an ocean liner, and somehow or another you fell overboard, and you're out in the middle of the ocean. That's a pretty desperate situation, right? I mean, you're out there treading water. You can only tread water for so long, you know. But let's just say another ship comes along, sees you out there, and they come up alongside, and they throw the life preserver out in the water. And there it is, a couple of feet away from you. And you could just look at that life preserver and say, "Whoo, boy, that makes me happy." Right? You could admire it and say, "That is a beautiful life preserver, and that thrills me to see it." That really makes my heart leap to see it there. And I remember, I've heard of the life preserver before. And Grandma used to sing songs about the life preserver. I love to hear about the life preserver. And the more I hear about it, I always feel happy but you know what? Sooner or later, you got to grab it. Be admiring it and being happy about it isn't enough. You got to grab it. And see, that's what I like to say about a verse like this. Grab it and say, see, here's how you grab it. This is true about me. This applies to me. And no matter what it looks like, you see, that's what faith is. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Doesn't matter what things seem like at the moment, because the way things seem at the moment are changeable. Isn't that right? Everything can change. Everything's changeable. And see, this tells you, this is like a statement of God's intent. This is what God wants for you. And the way he says it, and I love the way this reads in the Amplified Translation. See, and you know, I can tell you that here's what I've done. I'll just use myself as an example. What I've done before, in times of, when you don't know how you're going to make ends meet or make things work, I've taken this exact verse, this very one, this from the Amplified Translation, written it on an index card, and either carried it around my pocket or taped it up on the mirror, or just so I'd be sure to see it and remind myself. And anytime you're tempted to get anxious or worried, and try to start turning the wheels in your mind, how is this all going to work? I said, wait a minute. God says he's able to make all grace, every earthly favor and blessing abound towards me. And I just believe that's true. And I believe he is right now making every earthly blessing and favor abound towards me. And he's making it, he's setting up so that I won't need any aid or support from anyone. And I have enough to, give, and enough for myself. See, that's the way I think he wants it. And that doesn't exclude me doing things, going to work and doing what I can do. But what I've noticed, here's just using myself as an example. What I've noticed is when I start grabbing hold of things like this, what I notice happening is suddenly opportunities start showing up that maybe I wasn't aware of, didn't notice before. It's not just that money comes floating down from heaven on a cloud. That'd be nice too. I'm not saying that would be bad. I'm not saying don't do that. Generally that's not the general experience. But it just says he's able to make every favor and earthly blessing abound towards you. So he seems to know where all those things, how to put those pieces together. And so I just leave it up to him and say, you said it in your word, and I just believe it's true. That's my part, to believe it's true. Right? Okay, thank you, Charlie. It's a good word for today. Oh, before we get any further, I need to make a couple of announcements. I always tell you how much we appreciate all of our helpers and when they're home from college. Well, Elliot has a job starting next week. On the 8th is when it started? 10th, okay. Well, in a couple of weeks. Anyway, next weekend we are helping Elliot move to Kansas City. And so we're going to be gone. It's Labor Day weekend next week, so we're going to be gone the whole weekend. So we won't be here. We won't have church. Give you the holiday weekend off. So you can sleep in. Well, that's the only time you're ever going to hear that at church. Stay home, sleep in, and take it easy. Or whatever you want to do. Just you're on your own next week, because we'll be with Elliot helping him move in. And in connection with that, what we'd like to invite you to do, we're going to take Elliot to the Pizza Hut today right after church. Anybody who'd like to come join us, we'll pay for your meal and we'll have a little celebration. Elliot's been a big help to us here at the church. Let's let Elliot know how we appreciate it. He's been running the computers and doing all kinds of things, helping me set things up with the internet and all different kinds of things. Anyway, I know his job's going to be real exciting and interesting. We've got relatives that live nearby. My sister's daughter and her husband live pretty close. It's going to be fun. You think it's going to be fun, Ellie? Yeah, okay. Anyway, it'll be exciting. So, we won't be here next week, and I'll have to think through if there's anybody not here that usually needs to know. It's glad to see everybody here today, so I don't have to call y'all on the phone. Not that I mind calling on the phone either. Okay, any other announcements or anything else that we should know?
Well, I know I've talked about prior to church that there was someone who missed it, and to other people maybe a little thing, to me it wasn't. I went and visited my children and then spent the night with them, and that morning they all went to work and to appointments. And so I was driving down Highway 75, and I'm like, I don't want to go home yet, Lord. Here it's just me and Jesus. And I said, you know what? I want to do something, Lord. And right there, as soon as I said, I looked up, and there the Cracker Barrel sign was 2 miles down the road. Now I get excited about that because it has that little shop, not necessarily for the food, but for the shop. And I said, "Thank you, Jesus." And then I pulled in the parking and looked up, and there was a mall. Now, Tulsa. I don't know Tulsa, but it was all right there contained, so Janet wouldn't get lost. The highway was right out there. All I had to do was make one right turn, one left, and I was on my way home.
Well, that's great.
And Jesus cares.
Yes, he does.
He takes care of us.
Yes.
He gives us the desires of our heart.
Yes, that's right.
All we have to do is ask.
Thank you. That's a good testimony. And the little shop is fine, but the food's good too. You're exactly right. I remember hearing one time a story by a man in Arkansas, a preacher named Gary Garner, and he was talking about when he first became a Christian, how excited he was. It was just, everything was exciting. And he said, I prayed about everything, and I was just so excited to be able to pray and to talk to God. And he said he came home one day, and his mother, of course, had been in church for years, and Gary just got saved, became a Christian. He came in and said, "Mom, guess what? Today I went to town, and there was a lot of traffic, and I asked the Lord for a parking place, and the Lord gave me a parking place right in front of the door." And his mom just looked at it and said, "Son, you really shouldn't bother the Lord with those little things." And he was kind of crestfallen. He felt bad, like he'd done something wrong, like he really felt kind of bad, embarrassed. So he walked out of the house kind of with his head down, and he said, "Lord, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to bother you with those little things." And he said the Lord spoke to his heart and said, "Son, they're all little things to me." They're all little things. What are the big things? Anyway, but Janet's exactly right. He cares about the things that concern us, and that's a good testimony. And it's true. It's right there in the Bible. You have not because you ask not. And it's good to ask. It's good to let him know. Okay, anything else? That's real good. Hey, I might not have to say anything today. I want you to look with me in 2 Corinthians chapter 11. We're in chapter 9 a minute ago. Let's jump a couple of chapters. It's chapter 11. And I'm going to start reading with, I'm not quite sure where to start. What I'm going to start with is sort of like a lead up to what I actually want to say. But I need to get the context, and I think it's important and helpful to get the context. Let's see. Verse 17, I guess, is a good place to start. Now, I've got to set the context. You won't understand what he's talking about unless I try to explain a little bit. The Apostle Paul, if you read his letters, you'll find out right away that he sounds a little bit aggravated from time to time. He sounds a little bit frustrated, and this is one of those passages, but it's going to lead into something good. But first of all, what got him into it is he was a little bit aggravated, because the Apostle Paul would go and start churches. He was like what we would call a missionary, and he would travel around through the Roman Empire at that time, and most